ProjectPossible.
Boom, and welcome to today's YouTube video. I'm going to be doing my home workout leg program, quad dominant leg program, and I'm going to be showing you my primer, my potentiation phase at the beginning of my session, leading into my main phase, and then showing you one of the best leg finishes that you can do to maximize your training. I'm a huge advocate of making sure that I warm up before I train, and I implore all my clients and anybody that is serious about their training to just take this time to actually check in with yourself and see how you feel before you go into your main phase of your workout. How much time you dedicate to your mobility, to your warm-up, is completely up to you, and every individual, every athlete, and every person that's going into exercise will look something different when they do their warm-up. I get that. However, I really feel what is missed is the time spent focusing on how do my hips feel today when they're articulating? How are my hamstrings feeling today when I hip hinge? These are questions I ask myself when I'm doing my mobility to make sure that I'm feeling absolutely on point before I get into my session. This gives me options. If I'm not feeling as though I'm flowing the way I'd like to, my joints are feeling a little bit tighter, my connective tissues aren't quite moving the way I would like them to do, it gives me the option to go, right, look, listen, I can just back my session off ever so slightly. I can spend a little bit more time warming up. Maybe I can just work through it. More often than not, that's the case. Or I can quite simply just change things in my workout to just account for the fact that I may have a little bit of an issue in that one area. Injuries, soft tissue stresses, they do happen within the body. So this is a good time when you're doing your mobility to check in with yourself and just see how you feel ready to go into your session, really. Of course, if you're doing a sport, you want to be potentiating, you want to be priming that muscle, whether that be some light plyometrics, whether that might be one of the movement patterns that you're going to be doing when you go into your workouts. This is a time where you can do that so you can get straight into your session. It also allows you to get into your workout and put the hammer down a little bit faster, knowing that you're a little bit more warmer and you're a little bit more mobile, as opposed to using the exercise itself to actually mobilize you. All right, so this is it. So now my hips are feeling nice and mobile, I'm gonna get cracking with my session. Just at the end there, I was just priming up my glutes, working my hip through flexion and extension, really activating the glutes, coming into that standing erect position and allowing that leg to track through in that sagittal plane right out to the front through adduction and abduction, really priming up those glutes. So that was just a little warm up there just to get me feeling good, working through some squats, holding on to the rack, working through some articulated rotations of the hip. I also worked through just stretching out my lower back, working through to child's pose, and also worked through threading the needle in lizard's pose there. They're just some of my favorite exercises just to prime me and get me ready for my session coming up. So I hope you enjoy. Let's go. Boom. So first on the menu, leg extensions, one of my absolute favorites and a great exercise for firing up your legs for your first exercise. Really gets the patella tendons warm and really works those quads through a nice contractile length. I've actually put the bench back so I can get a little bit more hip extension and also lengthen my hip flexors and just mitigate the amount of involvement they get in the motion of that extension and that flexion there through the knee. I want to be putting as much stress as I can on the quads, and I'm opting for around 50 to 60% of my max. Quite simply, I don't want to absolutely burn my quads out on my first exercise, but I want to get as much muscular excitement as I can in my quads to get me ready for my session. Now I'm going to do 10 sets of 10. That might seem like a lot, but consider I'm not actually going to the well with these sets. All I'm actually doing is just working through, trying to increase my range of movement and bring my mind to muscle connection there before I move on through the rest of my session. This is a great exercise to do for your first exercise. And if you are someone that starts with hamstrings first, you can of course do laying hamstring curl or seated hamstring curl. It works in a very similar way, puts that muscle into its longest contractile length right at the start of the session to really fire things up. So let's get into it. So 10 times 10 on the leg press, absolutely smashed it out. Nice steady step cadence, as you could see. No heroics, just 50 to 60% of my max, just working through nice and steady, getting a bit of a brow sweat, actually getting a bit of a sweat on. I think I'm gonna have to ditch this hoodie in a minute and unleash. So I'm gonna be moving on to my next exercise. This bit of kit is one of my absolute favorites in this entire gym. And I knew when we got this gym set up, this is definitely something I wanted. Nice and compact, small footprint, but does a hell of a job when it comes to boom, targeting the legs. Compact leg press, sled leg press. Couldn't do without it now in this gym. I really feel if I didn't have this, I would be so limited for options to be able to actually target my quads and hit my glutes the way that I'd like to. This bit of kit is absolutely fantastic. And by doing the leg extensions first, doing the mobility first, allows me to step straight on to the sled leg press and be able to just go straight into working sets. And what I mean by working sets are sets that are going to be challenging you from the off, sets that are going to be actually productive for producing hypertrophy in the muscle. I've done my leg extensions, I've got the blood into the quads, I've done my mobility, and I'm ready to just get straight in now, knowing that everything is ready to go. So when I get onto the leg press, I'm going to be getting into a narrow stance. I want to be really working on bringing them feet nice and close together and really putting some stress through the quads, keeping the feet nice and low on the plate so I can really target those quads effectively. Here goes. Boom. So yeah, into my second set now. And as you can see, there isn't a huge amount of weight on here. There's only a 25, a 15, a 10 and a 5. So there's like 55 kilos on each side. Plus the sled, you're looking at about 150 kilos. It feels a lot different on here. It feels more like you're doing some kind of hack squat, or even if you actually bury yourself into it, it feels a little bit more like a back squat, actually, just with minus the bar being across the back of the shoulders and obviously the compression through the spine there. But I really like this, and I have to half the weight that I do on here in compared to a conventional sort of like diagonal pressing leg press where it's angled at that 45 degrees. This really changes a lot when you're driving the weight away from you as opposed to pushing the weight away from you in a different plane of movement. So yeah, this is my second set. I'm just about to get into it. I'm seriously getting a sweat on here. So again, same principles apply. With this exercise, I'm going to be having my feet nice and low, making sure I target my quads, and I'm going to be aiming for maximum depth. Unlocking, and here we go. Allowing myself to sit in the pocket for the count of 3. Really feel that stretch and drive. Locking off nice and safely. So my third set, what I'll do is I'll ramp it up a little bit more and I'll try to go for 8 to 10 reps, and that'll be my 3 working sets on my leg press. So I've had my 10 times 10 leg extension, 3 times 8 to 10 to 12 reps, on the leg press, and then I'm gonna move on to my next exercise. Boom. On to the third exercise, belt squats. This attachment fits my 3x3 inch rack absolutely perfectly, and what I've done is I've just ever so slightly jacked myself off the floor with a couple of plates, got a support underneath just holding it so I can get into position, and I've got my bracing bar here should I need to, if I need to take a rest, or if I get stuck in the pocket, i.e. at the bottom of the lift, I have done before, and need it to facilitate me pulling myself back out if I hit maximum exertion. So yeah, I've loaded it up with quite a bit of weight, and I'm going to achieve hopefully 10 to 12 reps. I'm going to do 5 sets. So I'm going to bang out a set, nice steady cadence, take a bit of a breather, and then work through the rest of the 4 sets. So let's get after it. So exercise 4, this one is challenging. There's a few different variations you can do if you want to achieve the optimal position to be in to get the most out of this exercise. And I truly believe that this exercise alone has been one of the major differences of why I've been able to maintain my hip mobility, my knee mobility, and also develop my quads. Now with this movement, what's a little bit different to all the rest is your quads are going to be in an isometric, i.e. a fixed position here. Of course, there is going to be some concentric and eccentric contraction going on, but predominantly the quads are going to be in an isometric contraction. We're going to be working through mobilizing the hip and also really pushing those glutes really hard to bring us into the upright position. I'm going to demo this now and just show you it as I work into it for my first set. So let's just see where my mobility is at for my first set of this exercise. So essentially what I do is I sit back and I sit on my heels. The objective here is to get flat to the floor and then bring myself up to an upright position and then drive through with my glutes. So let's see how this goes first time round. We're going to hinge back, keeping the dropping back here, nice and flat, coming back up, keeping my spine nice and neutral, driving through, squeeze the glutes. Now I'm going to start to use a little bit faster cadence as I come through, squeezing through. This is a fantastic movement. Now what I've got set up here is a band. So you can do this with a band as well. And what you'll find is you'll actually be able to feel the movement a little bit more in your quads and in your glutes as opposed to relying so much on your torso and a little bit of momentum. So have a look at the difference. Here, coming through, squeeze. Big contraction on the glutes, sit back, spine nice and long, coming through, squeeze. And I tend to finish my sessions with this exercise, more so from the point that I want to do an exercise at the end that's really going to aid my flexibility, have a nice stretch out through the quads, have a nice bit of time to be able to just hit the floor, do some mat-based work, and just focus on my mobility before I do my final finisher, which is challenging. Boom. So, final exercise, max incline, treadmill with a weighted vest. Why do I love this exercise? I love this exercise because you can finish with an absolute burner, really finish off the quads, the glutes, the hams, and if you stay on your tiptoes the entire duration, you really cook your calves too. I've been doing this for about 2 years now. I do 2 leg sessions a week. One is quad dominant, one is hamstring dominant. Of course, there's going to be hamstrings involved on the quad day, and there's going to be quads involved on the hamstring day. It goes without saying. I always generally do between 4 and 5 movements, spend about an hour in the gym. If I do a bit longer warm up and a bit of a longer finisher, it can be a little bit longer, but generally speaking, that is an example of the kind of leg session that I will do And you'll see that I'm not absolutely destroying myself with the weights that I'm lifting. I have done in the past, and it just resulted in a boatload of injuries. So for me now, training at around maximum 80% of my lifting capabilities, but for more repetitions, for a prolonged length of time, really is promoting huge amounts of muscle growth. As I step forward going towards 40, my objective isn't to be colossal in size. It's to be functional, it's to be fit, it's to be able to do all the things I enjoy doing. Climbing, fencing, jumping about, calisthenics, generally being able to feel capable to do whatever I want to do. Everybody's level of what they perceive as being capable is different. For me, it's having no boundaries to what I want to do or what I want to try. And quite frankly, lifting colossal weights for me at this point in my life puts that at compromise, and I'm not willing to do it. So, hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to finish off now in my last couple of minutes on this treadmill. It's been great. See you next time.